Hey, 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 everyone, welcome back. We are at day 6, or challenge number 6 of our stream here today, designing our creative challenges, daily creative challenge, streaming each day. We streamed last week, we're streaming this week. I am your host, Sam Anderson. I'm a designer on the Adobe XD team here in San Francisco, California. Hello, Sam. Oh, a fellow Sam. Always nice to see fellow Sams in the chat. Hey, Tim, Philippa, Anna as well, Fatima. Welcome back, everyone. Oh, it's so great to see you all. You know, yesterday I didn't ask how everyone's weekends were. And, you know, that's an important question to ask because I had a killer weekend and I hope everyone else had a killer weekend too. Hi from Pakistan. Oh my gosh, Fatima, thank you for tuning in. This is really stellar to see everyone coming in from all over. Like I said, we're streaming from San Francisco, just jamming out here in this cool studio. Cindy, nice to meet you. Hello, Samantha. Oh my gosh, another Sam. This is great. It's so awesome to see everyone in the Behance chat just being active and saying hello and just chatting it up. This is great to see. It's like good encouragement, you know? Because I'm here, I'm talking to a camera. I don't actually see you guys in person, but this chat is able to save me from just talking to a lonely camera. So I have you guys there. So we're back again. Behance.net/challenge/XD. This is our homepage for these challenges where we're going to learn user experience design with Adobe XD. And we have a challenge each and every day. On this page, you can click this gorgeous blue button, and that will give you reminders each and every morning on how we are progressing with the challenges. So every single morning, we have a new challenge. And look, we're really progressing through these. We're just chunking along. Nice to see everyone and their progress. So here's today, design for multiple screens. We're going to be doing some car stuff. You can get the starter file through this link. That takes you to a Dropbox link where you can download the XD file. If you need to know more about XD, you can find that here or connect with our community chat. Ever heard of Discord? Discord's fun. We're chatting it up in Discord, which is just rad. Speaking of Discord, we are having a little, if you look at these messages, we are having a little survey, which if you fill out by tomorrow, you can, and it's about the streams, it's about the community. I'll show it to you here, what it looks like. And if you fill out the link, which is in that general channel, here's what it looks like. And if you just fill this out, you have a chance to win. Fill out all the questions, and you have a chance to win Creative Cloud for a year, I believe, which is not a bad deal. So be sure to do that by tomorrow, and good stuff, right? A whole year of XD. Also on here, we have here's the important one I keep coming back to each and every day. Whoa, it's called Current-Challenge, and this is where we're diving into the challenges each and every day, talking about them, sharing feedback, giving feedback, the important piece, giving feedback to people as they're sharing their designs. Look at that, wow, fancy stuff. Ooh, we have videos in here, people are sharing prototype links. Oh my gosh, wow, we have some quiz apps going on in here, which is what we did last time. If that was fun, you can go and watch that. Ooh, look at this from a previous day. And we're all giving feedback to each other, which is just a blast. Ooh, we have some other ones from previous days. I'll be jumping in here and giving more feedback. I haven't been able to the past couple days. I've been super busy, but don't worry. The feedback is coming, and I will be throwing feedback to everyone. Hello, Steve from Wellington, New Zealand. Oh my gosh, the other side of the planet. Hello. New Zealand's great, isn't it? Oh my gosh, I want to go back. I was there. I was in Christchurch for a little bit. Stellar place. So great to hear where all of you are coming from, just all over the planet. Okay, here we are. This is XD. This is our starter file for today. Where we are designing something for a car page, but we're designing across different screens. So the idea here is that, ooh, friends, we have some other lovers of New Zealand in the chat room. The idea here is that something that we design for web and that shows up on, let's say, a laptop or desktop computer, that's actually going to be a slightly different design than what we might want to have on the web mobile version. And I'm not just saying that it should be laid out differently and maybe the text should be a little bigger and you have like 2 columns instead of 1. I'm talking about a difference in actual like flow, because when we're thinking about a use case, I'll zoom in here on our prompt and principle so you can get a better idea of what's going on there. If you're designing, let's say, something to rent a car or buy a car or something like that, which is what we're going to be doing today, a really big decision like that, especially like buying a car or buying a house, you know, these big like life moment changing decisions, people probably aren't making those decisions on their phone. That's just my guess. And so you might actually want to change, you'll want to do research to confirm that assumption, which is a key part of the design process. Absolutely. But you want to do research to confirm that, and then you can actually design a different flow for different users depending on what context they may be in. Because if they're on their phone, they might just be like in the doctor's waiting room researching like, oh, what car should I get for my next, investment, next big like monetary investment, right? They're not actually looking to purchase the car at that moment, and so you might have different actions that you want to bring to light. I have some great resources here. This one is particularly useful. They have a video. This is Nielsen and Norman Group, who always are posting articles on how different principles around experience design. And they talk about how simple design is relative. So what might be simple on a desktop might be different than what's simple on a phone. And so that's a really helpful little tidbit that you can look at. We have some other resources on responsive resize. This is a link to the page you're on right now to watch the video of me doing it. Some inspiration here to help you. But we're going to dive in and start designing because we're going to be using responsive resize. Because for this challenge, we're designing across both phone and a bigger view, let's say desktop or laptop web. And so to start, I have some details that I threw in here just so I don't have to mess with getting these details on the stream. But this is pretty straightforward, details about a car. I'm going to bring in some photos. But to start, let's learn a little bit about how responsive resize works, which is a default behavior in Adobe XD on how we are arranging and moving objects. So just to demonstrate this, I'm just making a bunch of boxes, and this will hopefully demonstrate what exactly is going on here. So these are just regular squares. They haven't even been grouped or anything yet. And by default, XD, when you resize all of these groups of squares, they are doing this behavior is called responsive resize. When responsive resize is off, look, notice that these shapes have relationships with each other. So if it's in the middle, it's staying in the middle, depending on what edge it's staying on, right? If this was turned off, which is similar to how you might see in other design tools, those relationships aren't maintained, and it's just kind of stretching, and that's not likely what you want. And so when we're going from a bigger screen to a smaller screen, and we're using some of the same elements, this becomes really important for us to move between those two. And you can fine-tune some of these if XD doesn't make the best guess as far as that relationship. If we turn it back on over here, you can switch it to manual mode, and you can set those pins and fix width, fix height, and you can really fine-tune how that responsive resize is working. So that's how it works. But we're going to start with our web page, and so I'm going to be pulling in some details from over here, and I'm thinking a darker background like this, like dark kind of bluish slate, and we are going to be wanting to use like a description. And I already got this set up for our page, just so I don't have to search for it later. And we're going to pull in an image of the car because that's going to be an important aspect. Felipe's mentioning that it lagged a little yesterday. Yeah, there's just a small technical difficulty, but we're past that, so it's all good. So I do have some photos of cars. I just found these online. and they have transparent backgrounds, which is really handy. You can search Google. You can actually search Google. I'll show you really, really quickly for images with transparent backgrounds. So I just searched car 3/4 view, which is that 3/4 is that angle. And I did transparent under the tools. And that helped me find images that will look good on any color background. So here I found this Lexus, and I'm going to be kind of like designing a page here. Perhaps you have in your design multiple images, right? So maybe not just one, and probably even a header for this web page as well. We're going to be doing 2 columns. So like a section on the left with our information about the car, which is just like a little article type format. I'm going to mask this image just by making a rectangle right on top of it and doing Command-Shift-M, and that will mask one image with another. That's just because it was a bit big. All that white space on the edges were kind of getting in the way. And maybe we make it even bigger, like that. And our title bar, in your design, you can flush this out perhaps a little bit more with navigational elements. But for ours, we're just going to make it black and maybe round the corners here. Let's see, 14. I'm using 14 on each of those. Doesn't matter. Oh, not 145. Ooh, that is way too much. And then like lower that opacity. And then we could do like a very quick, like premium looking logo by like just all caps, light typeface, and then increase the letter spacing by like a lot. Whoa, boom. Some premium fashion executive looking logo there. If you want it, yeah, you can just, that's just a cheat shortcut to, lots of like fashion brands or like premium brands tend to do like the really wide spaced letters for some reason. I don't know why, maybe there's a reason. And then we'll probably have some details for the car like this. And so you'll notice there's nothing fancy going on with this list. They're just text box. But when I resize it, you're noticing that those relationships are staying with each other. So that if I have something that's over on the right edge, it's going to stay on that right edge, because why would it not? That's kind of what we want, right? And so we'll put this in like on the side here, and maybe give it a background just for this like sidebar. And then below it, we'll actually have a call to action. And I'll show you how we'll duplicate that over to the mobile screen with responsive resize. So our text is white, which is why we can't see it at the moment. I'll send that to back. I'm using Command-Shift and then the first bracket key to send it all the way to the back of the canvas. And then we'll make it a little darker so we can see it more clearly. Okay. Oh, and right now it is the same color, but now, okay, there we go. And send it to back. Awesome. And so, we have a lot of room to be spacious on the web version, but on the mobile version, we might not have the luxury of so much space. So we might actually want to condense that down. And so I'll move this down here. There's probably a title on that one as well. But now we're going to think about that call to action, and this is what this challenge today, the principle behind this challenge today is actually all about. And so if we have like a call to action button is the primary action that someone might take on a web page or any kind of design, really. Let's make our radiuses consistent, 10 pixels, there we go. And so we want to make sure that call to action is in line with the train of thought that someone might be in. And so I'm thinking like a blue, since we're using blue everywhere else. We're using like a darker blue background. And so I'll use something like that, perhaps. You could even put like a gradient behind this car, a radial gradient to really accentuate the image if you want. And we're going to have text like reserve now, perhaps. And you notice this is going to be a different action than our secondary action, which is going to be a bit smaller and out of the way. So reserve now. You can have fun with making a different style button if you'd like. And then our primary button, or I mean our secondary button actually, is going to be a little bit more subdued because it's not actually the primary action we'd like to make. And so we'll do an outline instead, maybe like 4 pixels, and we'll still keep that blue color. Or we could do, actually, let's do white. Let's do white. But it's in the background just a little bit more. It's not quite the main action. And this will be like, maybe like schedule a viewing, right? To see the car before you make like this big decision, right? And so that's like a less important action because they are on a different surface, right? And so I'm going to group these. We can make them components if we'd like, and so that way I'll do that right here. Let's see. If we open up our assets panel, we can make a component out of this one. We'll make a component out of this one as well, and we'll reuse that. We'll make this a component too, and we'll reuse that on our phone screen. And so the idea here is that when we go to the mobile screen, these primary actions are actually going to swap. We want people to actually book more of a viewing than to actually reserve the car because we're trying to anticipate what their needs might be. And so we're going to start copying things over, and where necessary, we are going to use responsive resize. So I'll start like with this one. We have our header. If we just resize that down, it's only changing what we need to change. It's not making the text any smaller because we really only need to change that by a little. And so we can keep our logo up there. And maybe it's not going all the way to the edge. And maybe a little smaller, actually. Cool. Let's bring the car up. Let's bring our text over as well. We only have room for 1 column on mobile. So we can't do 2 columns like we are on this one. So it's going to be a longer page, but that's okay. People aren't really afraid of scrolling, is what seems to be the verdict of designing for mobile. And so we'll make this a thinner column of text, and maybe not so much text. Perhaps a little bit too much, right? Cool. And I think that size is actually good. The same size, I think, would work for both mobile and desktop. And so we're going to bring these over, copy them to our new design, and let's resize some things. Boom, whoa, responsive resize, and it's fitting our mobile design just super well, just by default. You could go in and make those finer tune adjustments. Maybe because we are on mobile, we do want to, let's say, make it a little bit more condensed, and so we can start adjusting a little bit more of like the line spacing here so that when we are a little bit tighter on space, we can just quickly adjust that and it becomes a lot less spacing, which is handy for mobile where real estate is a lot more valuable. And so for this one, we're going to move it down actually to reserve now. That's slightly less important. We're going to make this our primary style without the border, but with a solid fill, right? And then we'll change this one to the, we want no fill with a border, 4 pixels. And we'll make that white. And now that one's the secondary, right? So you'll see it's changing depending on their device. And so I encourage you to take this in maybe a more radical direction. In here I say, like, feel free to branch out from just a car service. Maybe it's a luxury car rental, or maybe it's ride sharing for your pet, or maybe it's for a hotel room. This principle of designing across different sized screens can be carried over to really any service. And so this is just one, it's really just one example of how we can use responsive resize to design across screens, and then we're applying that principle of changing that primary action from screen to screen. And that shows an understanding for the user in what kind of situation they might be in. So that was fun. I can't wait to see the designs that all of you come up with. What you're going to want to do is when you have your first iteration done, come up here to share, this share button, and do share for a review. And this will, you can create a link, and that will create a web link that you can share on our Discord page. So like copy link right here, boom. Also in here, you can do copy embed code. That's handy if you want to upload to Behance, which I will show you in just a minute. And then in Discord, up here, in current dash challenge, you can paste that link, boom. I'm not going to paste mine, but because this is a space for all of you, and I've already shown you my design. But paste that link, ask for some feedback, and if you're asking for people for feedback, make sure that you are also giving feedback to everyone else, because it's like a big circle, right? It needs to feed into each other, and everyone needs to be giving to receive feedback. Share that on there, and we will all be benefiting from everyone's designs and feedback, because listen to other people's feedback, because there actually might be feedback that kind of spans across designs in general, and there might be overarching themes that you might be able to learn from other people's mistakes. And remember, we are critiquing the people's work and not themselves, and so be sure, take it lightly when people are giving you feedback. It's not a critique of you, it's just a critique of your work, and we're all just striving to become better designers. Once you get that feedback, you can head over back to Behance, and if you hit create a project up here, you can actually upload your files, and this will be helpful to you because you upload your files, and you can share the final version of your design. And so you can actually make it like a really fancy long, in XD you can do this as well, you can make a really long artboard with all of your designs, and you can explain each part and process of your design. So that becomes really handy to tell your story, because that ends up, that's what your Behance page, I think, is about, is if you can tell the story behind your work, it becomes a lot more than just about the work. It becomes about your design process and your mode of thinking and how you work with all the different like research and why you're making this and why it's important to you. And you can even throw in, let's see, embed media. Remember I showed you where you can copy an embed code? You can paste that embed code in here, and you can actually have your interactive prototype, if you choose to make it interactive, on Behance as well. Now there's one last piece to Behance that I will show you. You can give it a title, and after you give it your title and you give it your thumbnail, in your project settings, you can also fill these out, but under discoverability, we're going to give it a keyword. And because you're creating it as part of the XD Daily Challenge, we're going to call it that. We're going to give it the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And we'll hit enter, and that kind of reinforces it, enters that keyword right in there. And so XD Daily Challenge, if you put that keyword in, it will populate with all the other XD Daily Challenges in search results, so that you can see your work alongside everyone else's when searching for XD Daily Challenge. Here I've searched for it in Behance search, and then I filtered by most recent, just so we can see the most recent work that people have been submitting, which has been fun. So here's a radio app that we did in a previous challenge that Mayo-kun submitted, and we have a video in here. Nice. Great, and we have other work from everyone else. Look at this. And we have a link to the interactive prototype. If you are watching, I didn't catch your name, but if you're watching, you can actually put this prototype into the Behance page. You don't have to link to it. So that's a handy little tip. So be sure to share on there. You'll see your work with everyone else's, and we can all really just improve as designers, and it will be just a blast. That's about it for today. I have to wrap up here, But it's been a blast designing alongside all of you today. Hopefully you learned a little bit about responsive resize and understanding what people's intents are and designing for that, depending on what screen they might be on. With that, I will be back tomorrow. We have a new challenge coming up. I'll be here at the exact same time, and I hope to see you then. I'll give you some feedback on Discord, so be sure to post your links. Until then, I will see you later, and have a great rest of the week. See ya!